I always have been quite introspective, and since I am of slight frame, I often rely on my intellect over my strength to get me out of dangerous situations. One might argue that if my intelligence was high enough, I would have never found myself in the very scenarios that I needed so badly to escape. While I realize that may be so, I also would argue that no matter what you do, sometimes you just can't win. Confess your sins, the beast growled. It was a hellish red demoniac that stood over me as I bled. Its curled horns spun in a tight circle above its head, and its eyes set like tar pits, sending chills down my spine as I lay there helpless in my own blood. I need to be quick. It came sooner than I expected. I thought, looking up from its writhing form. I will tell you 3 of my worst sins, if you will be so kind to provide me your name, I asked in a firm and demanding tone, despite my shaken state. Horror-Terris, the monster spoke in an uneven tone, looking down on me with skeptical eyes. Horror-Terris, it meant something like, being from where the law was given, but not just any law. Horeb was a mountain on which Moses was given the 10 Commandments, and now it wanted to know which of the tenets I had broken. How quaint. I gathered my thoughts. I have made many mistakes in my life and suffered many tragedies, I said to the thing, but there were none as grievous as these 3. I started praying that a story might stay its hand only for a short time. I had to get to my mark. After all, when you have been in as many scraps as I, you start to realize even the most hopeless situations can turn if given adequate time to do so. The law monster nodded to me to continue, beginning to foam at the mouth, hungry for my confessions. I sat up, hands sinking into the putrid puddle as I began to stand. My head wound wasn't too bad, but it bled profusely, as head wounds tend to do. The first of the 3 was joining my coven, the Black Accord. We practiced arts that were hidden from men for a good reason, but that was long ago. Another member of the puny coven. I thought I had eaten you all. Your kind is especially tender, full of sweet transgressions. The beast of a demon stood tall in front of me. I stood as he spoke, basking in his immensity. I stood next to him, unintimidating and frail, blood still streaming down my face, dripping down the tip of my nose into a puddle at my feet. I'm certain you did, I said with a grin. I am no longer a member. However, leaving and breaking the blood pact was not my second worst sin. The red-faced horror salivated as he watched me. Hearing of my sins seemed to make him hungry. Go on, he pressed in his gravelly voice. All right, but first, I need a little more space. Give me a few paces. I need to gather my thoughts. You will try to escape, he said in his slow, guttural tone. With these puny legs? Please, I retorted, trying to keep worry from my voice. That would be fruitless. Horeb looked down at my figure and nodded, placated for the moment, and it wasn't a lie. I wouldn't be worth much in an all-out run. My second worst sin was the blood sacrifice I made to get you here, practicing my arts outside the coven and destroying a somewhat innocent life to do it. Innocent, the demon smiled. The more innocent, the better. Tell me of its innocence that brought me forth. Well, it was a used car salesman, actually. The demons must have similar sensibilities as we humans, because, upon hearing this, he reared back, spewing ichor from his mouth. Vile, disgusting, how dare you bring me forth with such slime? I thought sins were delicious to you, I offered simply. Upon summoning, the fewer sins that the sacrificed one has, the stronger we become, and the longer we can stay. Once my kind is here, though, the sins of the ones we consume are as sweet as honey. And what happens if you kill the one who summoned you? I asked, eyeing his hungry demeanor. If I killed the one who summoned me, I can stay forever, he said with a smile. Unfortunately for you, you didn't know how to hide from me. Your being practically called out to me. Well, I said, that brings me to my last sin. Something so vile. A transgression directly against God and his angels, I said as I stepped away from the demon, over the trash that lined the alleyway. The monster was foaming at the mouth and closing in slowly, eager for the kill and the taste of my sins. Just as with summoning you as my puppet through a sacrifice, I have also devised a way to do the same with angels, make them the same as you, a pawn of my will. Impossible, the demon roared. That will never work. You would need a sacrifice of such immense power, it explained as it closed in on me. Which is why, when I summoned you, I made sure you would be able to consume my old coven, I said smoothly, taking one step back to where I had marked on the wall previously, stopping in place. No, it isn't possible, the thing said, almost choking on his words. Do you know what the difference is between life and death? Endless possibilities and the void? Earth, and the place you are returning to, I asked smugly. A huge smile spread across my face. Horeb leaped forward in a powerful lunge, his arm stretched out toward me, claws shining, mouth wide open and salivating. He slammed into an invisible barrier just inches from me, a powerful energy shield, blasting him back onto the ground. He roared a deep, guttural roar. 2 inches, I explained as I knelt down, careful not to extend any part of my body beyond the mark on the wall I had made. Horeb Terrace flailed himself against the barrier to no avail, each time being smote back down to the ground. I pulled the last ingredients from my back pocket, an eagle's feather and holy oil inside a corked vial. I dropped the feather, removing the cork from the bottle with my teeth, throwing it through the barrier to the ground below Horeb. Its contents spilled and ran out as I smeared 2 fingers across my face, dampening them with my blood. I kicked aside the trash to reveal my great imprisonment and summoning diagram and finished it with a spell ignition, written in my own blood. No, the demon screamed as the diagram beneath the trash began to glow. A sonic boom sounded, a bright white light exploded throughout the alley, and I fell backward away from the ritual. When I arose, I saw it. A husk was laid, split open on the ground around it. So it worked, I thought. I had never tried anything of this sort before. I was operating mostly based on instinct when I created the ritual, drawing from my wealth of knowledge of ritualistic spells which had always made sense to me. A thick leather skin, red, wrinkled and disheveled, lay below him. All around the angel was splattered a black substance that had exploded out of Horeb's being. It covered the walls and floor. Luckily, it had hit my barrier and had not covered me as well. Parts of the buildings on either side had collapsed in, leaving bricks scattered all over the alley. People ran screaming from the torn buildings as I stood to my feet, in awe of it. An angel of the Lord, magnificent and whole. The divine being stepped through the barrier toward me. The shield snapped as it passed through, resulting in a bang and an explosion of light. Nothing vile, nothing demonic, nothing evil or with sin could bypass through that barrier, I thought to myself, which I had written in an allowance for. I am here to enact the will of my God. I'm screwed. Why the hell did I do this? I thought, looking around, trying to figure out what to do next. What's your name? Horeb Terrace, the being spoke in a regal tone. Holy hell, I said gaping as I looked back at the husk of Horeb on the ground. The skin had fallen from Horeb, his sins were expelled, and now he stood in front of me as he once was, in his glorified form, angelic and free from the bonds of his demoniac existence. Thanks for joining us around the campfire. If you enjoyed the story, subscribe below. Also, hit that notification bell to be notified of our new stories as they are posted. If you have a story you'd like to share for narration, submit it via email, and you may be hearing your story next. Our email address is in the description box below. Thank you, and good night.